What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. 40 Super testing continued. We just got done with testing number 5 the other day. Now we're on to test number 6. This is another 40 Super from DoubleTap. It's another controlled expansion. However, this is the 135 grain. The other day we tested the 180. Definitely check out that test. But on to today's test. It's a little bit different bullet design from that 180 grain. I'd say it's a lot different, actually. Let's take a look real quick. So this stuff doesn't have any skives in the copper on the outside. This is more of just your traditional flying trash can or flying ashtray type of thing people used to call back in the day. It's a very basic looking copper jacket with a pretty basic looking cup inside the lead projectile. It is in 40 Super though, so there's nothing basic about it. If you want to know more about 40 Super, check out our playlist. We have a few videos. Some of it explains it a little bit more in depth. But for today, we just want to test this stuff. We already explained it a little bit more with the 180 grain test. That's why I said you should check that one out. But basically, 40 Super is just a really hot version of something 40 cal. So take 40 caliber, kick it up to 10 millimeter, then take 10 millimeter and kick it up even farther, but shoot it out of a 45 caliber case. We're going to put it through the chronograph. We're going to hit the target for accuracy. We're going to hit 40 inches of 10% clear ballistics gel, and we're going to see what this stuff's all about. Testing explained, let's get to shooting. Whoa, 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 I forgot to explain the platform. 1911 Remington R1, 5-inch chambered in, 40 Super, of course. Now let's get to shooting. All right, 5 rounds on that B8 target from 21 feet away. First one chambered well. It felt just a little clunky going in there, but it chambered. Sorry, it took me forever to get lined up. I shot a little high on that one. We have 1740.6, 1701. Now I got in the X-ring where I'm supposed to. 1724.1, 1686. It feels pretty stout in the hand, but not as stout as the 180 grain stuff did. It feels different. Then I'm looking for the brass. Give me 1 second. Now in this particular loading, in this particular gun, we are seeing a little bit of pressure sign here. You're going to notice that that primer has a donut looking area in it where you can see it's a brass color that's flowed back and it has stripped it off on the breech face a little bit, or where the firing pin hole is, it'll strip it. If I turn it to the side, you can probably see a piece of metal sticking up. So that is abnormal. That is a pressure sign. Everything else about the brass, in my opinion, looks okay. This is something that happens with 40 Super. I just need to point it out because it can become a problem. And I have to check more of this brass because we're on the borderline of actually piercing a primer. We're right on the edge. And if that happens, it's really not good. Pierced primers can damage your firing pin and they can jam up your gun because they put little discs of metal in your firing pin channels.
And this is where I need to make a special note because this is not a double tap problem alone. This also happens with underwood ammunition at times. This happens with my reloads if I'm not careful. This is very much a 40 Super problem. We're pushing the boundaries with this cartridge. In other words, this cartridge is no joke.
So 40 Super is a very powerful, very hot round, but it has a lot of pressure and you got to deal with it. So with that being said, let's continue. Our last shots were 1739.7 and we got 1707. And that's probably why we have a little bit of a primer issue. Pushing a 135 grain bullet, that is going really fast. Foot pounds are going to be incredible. And 1724.7, 1697. A little bit of that 40 Super sting here in the wrist, but to be expected. All right, we got 1761.5, 1726. We lock back on an empty. Let's go take a look. It's not as good as I wanted it to be. I got to wear these stupid shooting glasses when we're shooting stuff like this. That doesn't help. But anyway, enough excuses. Let's go take a look. So definitely not my best shooting, but dealing with a light, the shooting glasses, all that, I just don't have a good sight picture. So sorry about that, but at least we did get them in defensive range. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them touching the X circle. I'll take that. And then that was my first shot. So I definitely wasn't ready for that one. Trigger, whatever, but not a bad group on the next 4. I'll take it every day. Let's get this stuff into gel and see what it looks like. All right, 135 grain, totally different bullet, looking bullet. Let's see if it is a totally different bullet. Let's see if we get totally different results. Ooh, it picked that block up pretty darn good. It felt pretty stiff in the hand. We had 1745.9 on the Garmin and 1739 on the Caldwell. Let's go take a look at that. It looks pretty impressive from here. There's our 1739 right there. You can see it scooted out that piece of cardboard we keep underneath the gel block, and we hit right there, down, lower, and right compared to the other one. You can probably see, I'll zoom in just a hair, we have a lot going on right there in the beginning. It definitely destroyed itself. So let me get it set up, give camera guy the camera, and we'll take a look. All right, as you can see, we have a pretty dramatic effect there in the beginning. We lost a lot of copper jacketing, a lot of lead. That thing went to total grenade effect. Not too dissimilar from the one behind it, which is the 180 grain. So spoiler, go take a look at that video. That's the 180 grain test. It is pretty impressive. This one's impressive in a different way. Slow motion will look a little bit different, I'm sure, but up to the 3-inch, 3.5-inch mark is where we have that very violent first part. Then we go to a pretty normal looking jacketed hollow point type of a wound cavity, all the way up until the 10-inch mark where you see one piece of copper come off, and then you see it start to, well, actually you see the projectile there. It's encapsulated in some gas, but you saw one piece of jacket go a little bit farther, or that could have been the bullet itself going farther and then bouncing back. You'll have to see it on the slow-mo, but we either have it landing at 10.5 or 11 inches, or it bounced back from 12.5 inches back to there. So we'll see it for sure on there, I'm sure. I just said that really weird. But anyway, so we didn't get as deep as we wanted to, but we definitely had more dramatic effect in the beginning. That is typically what will happen when you hit things with really high velocity. Certain bullet designs will give you that grenading effect, but still punch through. So if this was a 16-inch gel block, we would have gotten 3/4 of the way through it or so. I don't know if this is what most people want as far as penetration in defensive ammo. I don't know about wildlife ammo or what. So you pick your application. The information is here. Use it as you see fit. But in the meantime, let's get these projectiles out and measure them. We better look from the top first. Definitely have more dramatic effect earlier in the block. See that darkening, that nastiness going on in there, but it settles down pretty quickly. Definitely sheds pieces of itself along the way. Is landed there all mangled with a piece of copper ahead of it. So I'm going to go ahead and bet that that was a total bounce back and just left copper up front. But it doesn't look too much different from the side, but another cool angle. I guess if we go back to the very beginning, we can see where we have these little tiny pieces of lead that have just totally fragmented off to the right and the left. That's usually indicative of the very high velocity stuff. We get some pretty cool firework looking effects in the beginning of the block. So now let's get them dug out. Holy Christmas, this thing totally turned itself inside out. That's a mushroom cap missing its stem. So pretty cool. Let's see what's left of it. We have 93 grains. Let's just call it at that. But like I said, totally mushroomed out. That thing wasted itself. Let's measure it. And at the widest point of what is left of it, we have 0.719 inches. Well, there's all the information. We have a lot of foot-pounds, pretty darn accurate. My shooting wasn't the best today, but rocks the gel pretty hard, just doesn't get so deep. I still think it's a very viable defensive cartridge for at least two-legged critters. I don't know if you want to take this in the woods for bear or anything like that, but I always leave it up to you guys to decide what you want to do with the ammunition. I think it's pretty cool stuff. Anything in 40 Super, in my opinion, is cool. Again, watch the primers in your specific gun. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you see you at the next one. And until then, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting.